case, I would like to briefly talk about two special terms in the Dhamma. You may probably have heard of these two terms. These terms are Anusota gaami and Patisota gaami. These two terms are very important, very essential in understanding some meaningful aspects to our everyday life, the nature, and our spiritual development, our spiritual path. So let's see what these two terms mean. Anusotagami means to go with the flow, to go with the current. First of all, if we understand the nature of a flow, a powerful current, whenever a river or a stream gets flooded, we know it creates a powerful flow. It has a powerful energy with powerful current. If anything gets into that current, it is easily carried through that flow current. So that is the nature of a powerful force, or if you call it the flood, or just like if you can get an idea of a tsunami, whatever it gets, it takes far away with the powerful force. So when you think about these kind of forces, they are connected to our individual life, especially when we talk about our mind. There are so many different forces that control our mind. And also we can see these powerful forces in society, how people live in the world, in society, how the entire society, the world, are functioning or flowing towards a certain direction. So we can see these powerful forces in society as well, in the world. So when you think about that point, these kind of social powerful forces can be controlled by many different conditions, right? Depending on what are the present values in the world, in society, what are the biggest trends in the society today. So these forces can control where and how the social movements are, how the society functions. And also, there are so many different forces in the nature as well. When we think about the weather patterns, how the nature functions, there can be so many different forces. These forces are maybe not sensitive to us. We may not be able to easily understand them. They are functioning, they are still there, but directly influencing our life in so many different ways. And also, when we think about the spiritual aspect, there can be different forces that are controlling our existence as well. How we move through this existence, in our circle of birth and death. There's a certain pattern, a certain way that we all travel through this existence. So this is the simple idea of this kind of force. In the Pali language, it is called as sota. Sota is the Pali word for a powerful flood-like force. Okay. So when we talk about Anusota Anusotagami, the Pali term, Anu means to go with, to follow the same direction. Okay, so Anusotagami, it is explained in the Dhamma to move with the normal flow in the world. How the general society, people are living in the world, following the same desires, same emotions, kind of, maybe having the pretty much same goals in their life, the values. So it's a normal, common direction how the world and society moves. So that is the simple meaning of Anusodagami. So you are also following the same direction, same force, uh, without any exception. You choose to take the same flow. So you go with the others, because you find you are in line with these tendencies, these values, interests, goals, and everything. So you find comfortable in that, yourself being comfortable in that same force. So you go with the same flow. That's the simple meaning of Anusotagami. So in the teachings of the Buddha, this Anusotagami term, this nature, this phenomenon in our life and society, is identified as a worldly nature. That means the superficial world, superficial life, is always taking this normal direction, uh, which is called Anusotagami. So in that process, we can see that there's nothing unique, nothing special. If you think about the human life, uh, basically there's no difference between an animal life. You know, what are the basics of an animal life and a human life? The survival, basically, right? They strive to be alive. They do so many things just to stay alive, not to die. And they eat, they drink, they sleep, they engage in sexual activities, and they go through the same kind of emotions, fear, uh, frustrations, anxieties, worries, and all these things. These things are common to all living beings. Uh, so that is the nature of going with the same flow. Hmm. So basically, in the Dhamma, it identifies that the normal flow, normal current, normal sota can be identified as carried away by all emotions or mental impurities. Basically, lobha, dosa, and moha, desire, aversion, and ignorance. This is the normal current, normal flow, as we can see uh, in the world. You know, so Anusotagami is that having no any exception, no any deeper meanings or values. If somebody is flowing with the present normal superficial current, that is uh, to say to be in the Anusota. So in that Anusota, we can see that as a result of following that normal, superficial, corrupted, contaminated nature of the mind, all beings are uh, entangled with the negativities, right? They go through all these negative experiences as we identify today. You know, nobody can escape that if they are in that flow, you know. Uh, so when we understand that nature, a powerful uh, force, the current, like a tsunami, it's very hard to get rid of it. You are part of in that powerful force. You know, So that is the nature of the Anusota gaami. You take that direction. Uh, the second term is called Patisota gaami. Patisota gaami means having understood the nature of the Anusota gaami level, uh, the drawbacks, what are the negative consequences of taking that route, uh, possibly. One tends to question the process, about going in the same direction, having no any exception. Uh, in this level, one might think about the true meaning of that process, following the same direction as all, uh, and try to think uniquely, you know. And then that person tries to kind of uh, swimming upstream. That is not easy. That is not comfortable. That's not convenient at all. As a powerful force, it's trying to take you, control you. You have to put a lot of effort to swim upstream. You know, you have to struggle a lot. Uh, this is exactly what happens when somebody tries to follow any spiritual direction. Even simply, if you think about somebody tries to be a good person, nice person, you know, behave well, even that is not that easy today, right, in society, because the outside force is so powerful. You cannot simply maintain your goodness, your positive directions, values in such a disturbing, distracting, powerful environment, right? So therefore, in the Dhamma, in the spiritual teachings, the Buddha really appreciates that Patisotagami. Patisotagami. That means you choose to walk away from the normal current, normal force. You take a different route, but it is meaningful. It's beneficial for you. It can bring you peace, happiness, and tranquility. So that is the direction of uh, Patisota. Okay. So this is a very important point to understand. Many people, almost all of us, are having this uh, connection between these two forces. If you think about, uh, when somebody tries to maintain a spiritual way of life, uh, the Gami direction as a powerful force, you pull you to one direction. And at the same time, as you try to think critically, question these things, in life, in world, what happens in society. And whenever you try to say some meaningful stuff uh, there, and whenever you begin to even appreciate and enjoy some spiritual values and goals in your life, that force uh, is pulling you towards one direction, right? This is a kind of ongoing struggle for all of us, until we get into a very stable, powerful standpoint in this way of life. Mhm. So, therefore, we need to understand, just like the negative forces in our life, in the world, in society, there are positive currents as well, positive forces. It is happening always. What comes to my mind is that, when you understand the nature of these powerful forces, sotas are, you know, there are some birds, travel far distance, you know, uh, due to the seasonal changes. Whenever we get snow and cold winter, there are some birds travel to warmer places. So uh, how they fly uh, that far is that uh, it is said in the nature, in the atmosphere, there are different air currents, air flows in the atmosphere. So what these birds have to do is that they need to get into these forces, these air currents, that they don't have to struggle that much. So when they are in that flow, uh, that air currents, they can easily fly to warm places. And if you can simply remember the movie, the kids' movie Nemo, I remember, you know, even fish, uh, turtles, uh, in the ocean, they also have this beautiful phenomena, you know, depending on the patterns in the ocean, they also travel from place to place in the ocean, and even they also travel far distance, getting into the same oceanal flows or currents in the ocean, necessarily in the superficial level or the surface of the ocean, but inside the water, there are powerful currents. So we all have that basic knowledge. Uh, this is how even people used to sail in those days, right? Getting into that the oceanal powerful force currents. So there are beautiful natures, phenomena in this world. So there are positive, powerful forces as well. Not only the negative forces. The negative forces can be very powerful, as many people, the majority, is taking that route, that direction. They can be so powerful. You know, the nature of another beautiful nature of the flow, the current, powerful force of a flood, tsunami, is that you don't have to have much struggle. You don't have to have that much energy to flow in the same direction. Flow or the current itself will take you to the intended uh, target or the point. Mm. So that's a beautiful nature to understand. It is very well understood. To be bad in this world, you don't have to have much effort. As that negative route, the force is so powerful. You just need to be in that force. The force itself will take you to the negative direction. Uh, we should never forget that positive directions are also the same. Positive spiritual forces are, in this world, in this society, in the nature, are also the same. You know, so that term is very well understood when we learn about the Margapala, right? The Margapala, uh, the different stages of enlightenment that are taught in the Dhamma, right? The very first stage is known as the Sotapanna. This is where we can understand, when somebody really gets into the powerful force of spiritual development, the attainment of enlightenment, one just has to be in that positive spiritual current, the powerful force. The force itself will take you to the final goal of enlightenment. So that's the meaning of the stream entry level, even. Sota Panna. To get into this powerful spiritual stream or the force, powerful current, you know. So that's a wonderful thing to understand how this world, this universe is functioning, having these different forces, powerful energies, you know. Uh, so basically, when you think about the normal power of our love, as we understand, as many people talk about today, uh, this positive thinking, the loving kindness and compassion, they are such powerful forces in this world, which can make a big impact upon our life, upon others. We can directly, powerfully influence ourselves and others through the power of our loving kindness and compassion. You know? So, only thing is that we need to get into these positive, powerful uh, forces, and then manage our life accordingly. So when we think about these forces, They are very important. Okay, uh, there are negative forces, negative currents, and positive ones. We need to choose uh, with our understanding, our values, our knowledge, uh, and how to avoid the negative currents, negative forces that are controlling us. If we are not mindful, if we are not smart, uh, and the possibility of getting into the powerful positive forces, as Patisota gaami, you know, uh, for that, as I mentioned earlier, we all have to have much courage, determination, mindfulness, wisdom, and always to have friends around us to support us. Otherwise, we can easily fall into that negative flows, Anusota levels, you know. So to smartly maintain the positive conditions around us, even within us, uh, is a way to always stay with the positive currents as Patisota. Okay. So these are some meaningful thoughts that I want to share with you in this morning. So they can be directly connected to your everyday life, your spiritual life, until we all attain enlightenment.